In this video, I'm going to unbox, set up and give an initial review on the Reolink RLC-520 and 522 outdoor PoE cameras. Make sure you stick around, and if you like what you see, hit subscribe below so you don't miss out on future videos. Hi, I'm Will from Real Surridge Tech, and today we're going to be having a look at these two cameras. Here we have the Reolink RLC-520 and 522. They're basically the same camera, except the 522 also has a 3x optical zoom. So the Reolink 520 RRP is at about £50, and the 522 RRP is at about £75. So you're paying that extra £25 to get that zoom functionality. Both these cameras support RTSP streams and OnVIF, and so can be integrated with your own NVR or through Home Assistant if you want. They're both PoE, dome or turret cameras. So let's unbox them. Let's start off with the 520. That's the one without the zoom. It's got a nice sturdy cardboard box. No printing on it other than the one label and the name. In the top, we have our usual selection of CE Declaration of Conformity. We've got some more surveillance stickers in multiple different languages. How useful. We've got a mounting template, and we've got our instruction manual. It comes with a little Ethernet cable, and then under here we have the camera itself. Oh, it's also got some mounting screws. So, this is the camera. It looks quite nice. It's got a little waterproof connector thing for the Ethernet cable. And then it's got the reset button and the power jack if you're not using PoE. So, the camera itself seems very sturdy. Mounting plate just spins off and spin and twist back in. Very simple. So, if we remove them. It's got a very simple twist feature to mount it and position it, so it will just tilt down. It'll tilt almost all the way down, and then almost to the vertical or the horizontal plane as well, and then you can twist it around. There's no way to lock the position of it, but you wouldn't be able to knock it out of the way because of this turret or dome design. Unlike a bullet camera where you could just knock it and it would be pointing in a different direction. This one, if you knock it, it wouldn't move. Got a nice big lens on the front, what looks like an LDR, and probably a microphone. And that is all there is to that. So now, let's have a look at the RLC-522. In theory, this should be exactly the same, with a slightly different lens on the front. Again, we have our stickers, our declaration, our operational instructions, and our mounting template. Brilliant. We've got another little Ethernet cable. Then under here, again, some mounting screws, the waterproof connector for the Ethernet cable, and the camera itself. Same three connections on the end. We've got our reset button, our power jack, and our Ethernet port. Got the same mounting hardware, just twists on, and same twist and tilt functionality as before. The lenses are both exactly the same size. But the lens, well, the lens cover is both exactly the same size, but the lens itself is slightly bigger on the zoom, because obviously it's got that zoom. Otherwise, they look exactly the same, which I guess is what you'd expect from two cameras which are supposed to be exactly the same. Very nice. Forgot to mention there is also a micro SD card slot at the bottom, and you need screws to access that. So that's a nice little feature as well. Lovely. So let's have a look at the features of these two cameras. The 520 retails at $49.99, whereas the 522 retails at $83.99. So that's an extra £33 or £34 for the zoom functionality. Obviously, the 522 has that 3x optical zoom, which the 520 doesn't, and that means the viewing angle is different. So on the 522, the viewing angle goes from 48 degrees to 94 degrees, whereas on the 520, it is fixed at 80 degrees. So if you want that ability to go slightly wider and then zoom in to a lot narrower, then the 522 is the camera for you. In terms of the features they share, they both have a 5 megapixel sensor, motion detection, local storage on an SD card up to 64 gigabytes. They have remote viewing, one-way audio, so they have a microphone but not a speaker, 100-foot night vision, it's about 33 meters, IP66 rated, obviously, because it's outdoor camera, and they also support RTSP and FTP protocols. They also can get a cloud subscription with Reolink. This is only available in a few countries, and depending on what system you have and how many cameras and for how long you want to record it, will depend on the price you have to pay for that. Okay, so let's plug these in and see what happens, and then get them all connected to the app. So there's both of these cameras plugged in theory. So let's open up the Reolink app and see what happens. Wow, that's very impressive. They both appeared without me having to do anything. Login password. It's a shame. I don't know which device this is. Let's call it 1. Fantastic. There we have it. And then let's try number 2, which is actually the 520. This one's the 522. So we just rename that quickly so we know which one is which. Okay, so this obviously is using the Reolink app, the same as the E1 and the E1 Zoom, which I've set up in a previous video. Let's go into settings and see what we can do. So starting with the 520, which is this one, we have its name. Storage obviously isn't detected because there isn't a micro SD card in there. Network information, nice. That's it for the info. Display, rotate the screen, thank you. Now it's the right way up. Quality, we can set our clear to 5K, changing our bit rate and our frame rate, and our fluent is currently set at 640 by 480 as a lower resolution, so you've got your low quality stream as well. Anti-flicker, day and night, all auto, camera name, date, watermark we get rid of, privacy mask. Now this is more useful in this camera because it's a static camera. So we can just completely stop visibility of a certain area. Obviously this feature also existed on the pan-tilt zoom cameras, which is useless, but on this camera it's actually quite useful if you wanted to block out a neighbour's backyard, for example. Then we've got advanced settings, which changes the exposure and kind of image settings of the image itself. Motion detection, again we've got sensitivity and motion zones. So we can set up different zones that we don't want to receive alerts about. So for example, your neighbour's backyard or the road opposite or whatever. And then in advanced, user management, file transfer upload, that's useful, and date and time settings. Record audio, let's have that on. So when we're in here, we can control various things. We can play and pause our stream, take a snapshot, record a video, change between fluent, balanced, and high quality. So if we just do a clap test with that. So it actually isn't a huge difference between them all. Obviously it's a lot more jerky on low quality because the bit rate is that much lower and the frame rate is that much lower. Other than that, that's all there is to that camera really. And the 522 is exactly the same. So if we just go into our settings to flip the image, our quality is exactly the same. We've got a 5K on the top and a 640 by 480 on the bottom. So let's try our clap test on the 522. So again, not much difference in terms of the lag between high and low quality. So that's good. You can see in the top the bit rate that's being transferred into the app for all the cameras. Yeah, and then we've also got, so obviously in both we can clip into an area. It's because it's a high quality camera, so it knows that it can clip into an area and still have enough quality to be able to see things, it being 5 megapixels. So that's a digital zoom, I suppose. But on the 522, we also have the pan, tilt, zoom options. Obviously there is no pan and tilt, but we are able to zoom all the way in. And it's got an autofocus, which takes a couple of seconds to respond, or you can focus manually if you wanted to. But I don't know why I'd want to do that because the autofocus is much better. Okay, so if we have a look at them side by side now, if we point them at the same thing. So these two cameras are now pointing at the same direction in the same place, and you can see that the 522 has a slightly wider lens on it. But it's not really noticeable when it's zoomed out. And then we can zoom all the way in and see what that's like as well. But there we go, we can see it zoomed in that little bit further, or 3 times further I suppose, on the zoom. And that is all there is to these cameras. The setup was incredibly simple. It was literally plug and play with a PoE Ethernet cable. Mounting's very simple. I'll put them up and we can see what the motion detection is like and what night vision is like when it gets dark. Now I've had these cameras for a little while, so I thought I'd share my thoughts on them. Out of the box, they're sturdy cameras. They are a plastic build and not metal, unfortunately, but I can't say I noticed that particularly. A big shame is there's no way to actually lock off the position of these cameras with a screw or something similar. Unfortunately, you're just relying on friction for it to stay in place. I've had no problems with this, but I wouldn't be surprised if over time that friction reduced and you might get a bit of a floppy camera. Other than that, I'm impressed with the quality, and I can't say they're not sturdy enough to resist a bit of knocking here and there. Setup is really simple, literally plug and play. It just appeared in the app. The image quality is great, and the Reolink motion detection is probably the best out of all the brands I've tried so far. It's the easiest to set up and the most responsive. I would say. The only times I've had false notifications with the motion detection is when it's been dark outside and I've turned on a light, and that's obviously bled and overexposed an area of the image, and that's caused a false alert. Other than that, the motion detection is great, even in the nighttime. I'm not entirely sure whether a 3x optical zoom is worth the extra £30 to get the 522 over the 520. So unless absolutely necessary for some reason, I would recommend getting the 520 instead. And yes, I'd definitely recommend them. For a great price, you get a great camera, a great app, and great image quality. Why wouldn't you? If you're looking to set up a security system for your home, then I reckon the 520 is a great option for your outdoor camera. If you want to get a hold of these, I've left links below for Amazon and the Reolink website. If you use the Reolink website, make sure you use the promo code YTB5WILL for 5% off. And there we have it, the Reolink RLC-520 and RLC-522 outdoor PoE cameras. Make sure you hit subscribe and click that bell icon below to find out more about my smart tech and how you can build yourself the ultimate smart home.